Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and we are here, and I think it's going to be our last Christmas card in July. And I am continuing in the Handmade Holidays new collection released by Spellbinders. I'll be focusing in on the layered winter rose background, and again, I'm just going to be using the plate this time. Remember, the plate and the stencil, they are a bundle. They are not available individually. Okay, I believe, if I got that right. But yes, the stencil is not available individually. I'm also going to be using the sentiments called Handmade or Handmade Sentiments. Getting my plate lined up, putting that onto my Better Press. I have a piece of watercolor cardstock, and I'm going to tape that down to, I'm going to call it the lid for the Better Press system. And I'm going to be using bark as my ink color. I did not want to go with a black. And if you remember in the previous video, we did just use the stencil, and it created this beautiful, soft, neutral background to our sleigh. But the flower, the large flowers, didn't have the detail. The detail sits in the plate. After I have that inked up, I'm going to add my lid. I'm going to run that through my Platinum 6. I run it through once. And it's tough because I go back and forth in my machine. But just going through once, you get this beautiful, beautiful image with wonderful texture going through that. Before I remove my plate from my system, I always clean it first. If I don't, I will forget. I'm keeping it real. It's just something that I would do. I would just forget. With this panel, we're going to grab our watercolors, and we are going to continue just with a messy watercolor. Now, I'm mixing up my color. I will zoom in. I do realize that I need to zoom in, and it takes me forever to get this color with what I'm looking for my berries. So bear with me here. And I am just dropping the color on. Now, this is a wet on to dry, meaning I'm taking the wet watercolor to the dry piece of watercolor paper. The paper that I'm using is Canson XL watercolor paper. But I'm not adding water to this first. I'm just dropping it down. I'm not worried about if I'm in the lines. I am not worried about, I'm not splattering it like crazy, but I'm not having a care of making sure the entire area is covered and everything like that. I'm doing the same thing with the leaves, and I'm going to have different shades of green. So I'm going to have a bright shade of green, I'm going to have a darker shade, I'm going to have a more olive shade, just to add interest to the panel. As you're adding these, you can see I'm just not worried about, am I covering the entire leaf? I'm just having fun. I'm mixing my colors, adding water to my colors so that they're a little bit more diluted. They're not the pure watercolor pigment. And I'm just scratching along on top of this piece, just having fun adding all of those colors to this. You can see in some areas the color's puddling, and I'm okay with that because that just spreads out across and gives you those differences in the colorways. Again, I'm still using the wet on to dry. I will use a wet on wet technique, meaning I'm going to add some water to the larger flowers, these roses there. And then I'm going to drop my color in, and I'm just going to let the watercolors do the work. I love putting water down on a piece of paper and then just dropping the watercolors in. I think it is absolutely gorgeous the way that they just spread out on their own, and you get these variation of colors. Now, of course, the water that I put down was not perfectly clean, but it had a red tint to it. It wasn't completely brown yet between the greens and the reds that I had in there. So I was okay with that. And then once I had the water down, I came in with the darker, the color that I mixed up, and literally just dropped it, followed the line of the rose and let that just bleed through. And I think that it just adds so much to the piece. You won't see direct lines. You won't have a lot of harsh lines, but you will have the difference in colors. And then just to add a little bit more interest, I made these smaller flowers in shades of blue. If I had too much of the watercolor down, I just use my brush to pick some of that color back up and wipe it on my towel that's off to the side there. So here's our panel. I'm just going to trim this down. I'm not going right up to the edge where the design is because I'm going to be coming in with my distress tool. You can certainly do this with a pair of scissors. Just be careful. Yeah. You know why I'm saying that, right? I'm just saying this tool just saves me because no one gets hurt in any of my creations and nothing was mistreated in any way, but I do have a strong hand when it comes to crafting, and using scissors just does not work for me. So I have this rough edge. I'm coming around it with some vintage photo just to frame it just a little bit. I am going to place this down onto a black piece of cardstock to really let this piece pop off our card base. And we are making a 5x7 card. I am also using my 2-inch double-sided film tape by Uline. It's a very strong tape. It's not forgiving. The moment it touches paper, it sticks. But it is I love this tape. This is my favorite tape, double-sided. Your piece is not going to go anywhere, and it flattens any warped piece of cardstock out there. And it doesn't unwarp itself. It stays flat. Absolutely love it. It's pricey, but it lasts forever. I think this is only the second roll that I am on. It just lasts forever. I am going to use the Sentiment Christmas Wishes, and I've die cut that using 4 pieces of maroon cardstock and a satin gold mirror cardstock for the top. I'm not making a bow, but I want like a scrunch of twine behind the sentiment, and I am horrible at doing that. So what I like to do and what works for me is I put a piece of double-sided tape down, not wider than my sentiment, and I literally place the loops. I just go sporadically and I just make sure I'm pressing the twine into the double-sided tape so that it sticks and I don't have to fight it. I love it when people just wrap it around their fingers and put it down on their card, and you got this neat sprig of twine or metallic thread, and mine just goes in a circle. So this stomps that. I'm going to hide the double-sided tape behind the sentiment, and I am going to use some double-sided foam squares, cutting them in half, and then I will be able to place this over the squiggle of twine that I have on my card. So I hope you enjoy, as always, today's project. Very quick, messy watercolor. Just have fun with it. Just let the watercolors do the work. The products that I used will be listed down below, and if you have any questions, make sure you leave those down below as well, and I will make sure I get back to you as soon as I can. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the thumbs up, ring the bell for notifications. Sometimes you'll get notified, but make sure you check back often. I do post regularly. Enjoy the art you create. Have fun with the process. Enjoy the process. If you're getting stressed, just walk away. Take a breath and come back and look at it with fresh eyes. You'll see something that you missed and you'll start liking the project again. But most of all, remember what's most important. Always be creative in everything you do every day. I'll talk to you in the next one. And remember, stay safe and take care.